All right. I'm so excited. This is going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. Okay. I'm talking to Marla Tellez, and this is like really informal and like kind of like a mini series, I want to call it.
Oh.
And Marla is technically not working. She's on maternity leave. She just had the most beautiful baby, Sloan, baby girl, born on March 23rd by like 2 minutes. Wait, she was born at what time did you tell me?
She was born at
Like
12:38 a.m. on March 23rd, which just happens to be
my birthday too. So we are birthday twins, and it's so exciting. And she is just gorgeous. I saw her was it last week or 2 weeks ago already?
Oh God, I think it was 2 weeks ago already.
2 weeks ago. She is officially 2 weeks and like 3 days
3
old.
days. Yeah, so she's 17 days old today.
Yeah, 2 weeks. She's 17 days old, and she's absolutely perfect and just gorgeous and has this beautiful round little cheeks and face, and she's just adorable. And so you're totally on maternity leave and you don't have to be doing this. But the first 3 months of having your first baby are such a whirlwind. And even though you like can take notes and journal and do all these things and take a million zillion pictures, there's something about like kind of documenting it in a different way that I think is kind of cool. And I think if someone had done this with me, I would have been really grateful. So that's why I asked you to do this. And I think if we even do just a few little mini episodes, it kind of might be something that you'll then rewatch, years from now. That might be kind of fun. But I just want to start with, we don't have to relive the whole birth and every second that occurred unless you want to. But I just want to ask you, like, how are you? How are you doing? It's 2 weeks plus a few days since you've had the baby. How are you feeling? How's your body? How are your hormones? As my sister and I used to say, have you gone in your closet and cried? Like, what is going on?
Okay. When you're asking me this question, I'm already on the verge of tears, if that gives you any indication as to how I'm doing.
Yes, it does.
Happy tears, it's overwhelmed tears, it's all of the above tears. And I realized that I don't have any tissue like nearby handy. So that was stupid of me.
You can use your sleeve. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Okay. So how am I? Well, first and foremost, thank you for inviting me to do this. And to your point, you obviously were much more prepared than I was because I haven't journaled. I didn't
journal. All I journaled was when my kids pooped and ate.
Yeah.
So
well,
no.
I did. I was journaling for the 3 days that I was in the hospital after she was born. And I did take those notes. But since I've been home, I just kind of in my mind each day, okay, I fed her at this time, she pooped here, blah, blah, blah. So I have not been doing that as much as I probably should. I've taken a lot of pictures, of course. But then I just stare at her and then I think, well, I don't think I've taken enough pictures because I want to capture this moment in time. So I'm glad you invited me to do this because you're right. I will keep this as a keepsake for her and she can have this to look back on if she wants. But so it's great to have. Getting back to your question, how am I? I am completely overwhelmed in the best way in that in the 17 days since she's been with us, I've become a completely different person. I mean, my life has changed in more ways than I could have ever imagined. And it doesn't matter how much advice you received, doesn't matter how many recommendations you received. Motherhood, the hardest job in the world. You've heard that a million times. And I've heard that a million times. And until you actually experience it, you can't even begin to imagine how hard it is, yet how rewarding it is. And so I'm in the throes of it right now, sleep deprived, everything that, every mom goes through, whether it's your first or your 10th kid. So for me, I'm just trying to learn how to become a mom. I didn't have those, what I thought would be motherly instincts prior. Since I am an older mom, especially, I was thinking to myself, as much as I want this child, how am I going to adapt to her when she's here living? How do I take care of another human being like this? And it's true when those instincts literally take over. I mean, I feel like I've been doing a great job breastfeeding, and that's a whole nother discussion that we can get into. So breastfeeding, doing my best to give her as much, skin to skin and love. And John, my husband, is doing such an amazing job too, being dad and helping me out when, we're a great team in so far raising Sloan. So I have cried, not in the closet, out openly in every room. I've cried for, just being overwhelmed, being tired, just to looking at her and being overcome by, oh my gosh, this little thing came out of me, X amount of days ago. I've cried for being scared. I've cried for, mourning my former life, if you will. I don't have the freedom that I once had, and that's obvious. But again, until you experience it, you don't know what that really feels like. And I'll never have that life again. But what I have now, I think is more precious and filled with more joy, given that we've created baby girl Sloan.
It's so amazing to, like, in literally a heartbeat, be responsible for this person and knowing that you will be for the rest of your life. You can't understand what that feels until it happens. Like, no matter how many books you read, no matter how many people tell you about it, it's this unbelievably, overwhelmingly emotional, like, waterfall of experience, of emotions, that you're responsible for this tiny little thing that becomes a person, a real person who's huge and might be taller than you and bigger than you, that you're responsible for them. It's so unbelievable. And at this stage, you're responsible for keeping her alive. Like, it's so overwhelming. I just couldn't get over that. I still can't. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, it's so unbelievable.
Well,
right? There's no other word for it. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah. And you're a testament to, you have 3 beautiful boys who you've raised, and you're an inspiration. And to think that, you've done that, you and Matt, and it's incredible, the family that you have. And you're definitely a role model for me, and
that's very nice. I mean, they're alive and they're not assholes. Honestly, that's my biggest accomplishment.
yeah, because someone called yesterday or the other day and said, what are you doing today? And I said, keeping my child alive. And they took that very seriously, in that, is something wrong? And no, I mean, I'm being literal, but also, sort of tongue in cheek, but that's literally what I'm doing. And it's amazing to me, being a career woman, if you will, and now transitioning into motherhood, how much I thought that, I've worked really long hours. I have a high pressure job. I think that this is not going to be as difficult for me. I think that I consider myself, a strong woman, emotionally strong as well. I'm a softie though, too. Don't get me wrong. But I thought that all that career training, if you will, of working a morning show for more than 10 years, of a 2:30 a.m. alarm clock. And now I work on the other side of the clock, and I work and I don't go to bed until, 1 a.m. or 1:30 a.m. now. I've done all these random shifts. There's no like banker hours in the profession that I've chosen, which is broadcast news. So I thought that had me ready and prepared for motherhood. Like, I got this. I got up in the middle of the night before and worked in a grueling shift. No, no. And I think about this when she wakes up and I'm feeding her at 1 a.m. And I'm thinking, well, typically I'm going to bed right now. I just get off work and I'm going to bed. Or the other reversal would be that in 90 minutes, I'd be getting up for my workday, which again, I did for more than 10 years. The exhaustion that you feel is so different because you are caring for somebody. And as someone who's breastfeeding, it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's a sport. I've decided that breastfeeding is a sport. It hit me pretty quickly in the 17 days since Sloan has been born that I was not prepared. And there's nothing, I don't think, there's nothing that can prepare you. And I'm, again, as an older woman, having a child, and, I'm not afraid to say my age. I'm going to be 49. And when we record this month, in just a matter of days, I thought as an older mom that I'd be tougher and I could handle it. And I can handle it. Don't get me wrong. But it's shocking to my system on how difficult it is. And there's nothing that can prepare you for this. I think age definitely makes you, we're in a more secure spot now. And that's great as older parents. So we can focus and not worry about other things and just care for our baby girl. But the age factor helps a little bit. But other than that, as much as you think that you have worked and you've done different shifts, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter until you actually experience it. Only then can you relate.
And unless you live like truly like in a huge house where you like really can't hear the other side of the house where you put your baby
Right.
like behind major closed doors. Like my sister and I used to laugh, like, I really don't need a baby monitor because you'll never not hear your child. Like,
It's true.
we used to laugh and be like, where's the baby monitor? And then after you realize after not very long, like you hear every peep. Like you hear her make a peep and you're never sleeping soundly enough for the next very many years, Marla, like 18 years, where you will hear every peep she makes. Like you don't need the baby monitor next to your ear. Like you will hear her turn, go like this. You'll know the difference between like a cry where you got to go get her or she's, hungry or she just farted, like whatever it
Yep.
is, like you'll hear it. You just know it's a different kind of sleep. That's part of like you just being, it's a different kind of exhaustion. Like you can get up for an early flight, you can get up to work in the middle of the night. It's a different piece of your brain that's turned on and off than when you're caring for a child. Like it's just different, which leads to a different kind of exhaustion. It just does. And like you're saying, you can't prepare for that. It's just a completely different scenario of the way your body reacts and the way your body is now attuned to a different human being.
I was actually going to say something though about John, in that John, I could, try and struggle to wake him up if he's snoring. And I mean, it's a struggle. Like, babe, hey, you got to turn over. You're snoring. Babe, like shaking him and he won't wake up. Yet, since Sloan's been born, he's out. He's out like a life, right? If I'm feeding her or what have you. And then I can set her down and she can cry. And he's like, and he hears it too. And it's amazing. So to your point, yes, I mean, instinctually, you just hear every little, whether it's a gurgle or is that a real cry or is that just a whimper in her sleep and she's fine. And we do have a baby monitor, but you do hear every little sound out of that little human. It's eye-opening. And what's funny is I think about before she was born, again, just 17 days ago, when I would hear women say that until you experience motherhood, there's no exhaustion like it. And again, I would just think to myself, oh no, I'm sure I could handle it. And yes, I'm handling it, but it's a lot different than you can ever imagine until you're in the throes. And a colleague of mine reached out just to check in to see how I'm doing and how's life. Do I miss work? And I love what I do for a living. I really do. But right now I don't miss work because I'm loving my new job. And there's nothing more truer than the fact that motherhood is the hardest job, but it is the most rewarding.
It is. And the interesting thing is, especially the first like 6 months, I think, you get these patterns and you're like, ooh, okay, we got it. Like, I know when she's going to wake up. I know what's happening. And then boom, it changes. And like right when you get a schedule, it changes. And it's usually, I remember my pediatrician would tell me, it's usually when they're pushing to the next level, like right when there's a sleep pattern or right when there's a nap pattern. It's when she's, then going to move to, a different feeding schedule, or you introduce solids, or she's going to sit up. When something's going to happen is when that pattern changes. And it's usually right, like, right at a teeny little milestone or a big milestone. And that's the keep you on your toes. That's the piece that's like that piece of your brain that's just never goes fully to rest and never fully asleep, because there's something about this connection that you have and this piece that's like, oh, that you're totally subconsciously like, I have to pay attention because I think she's going to go down for a nap at 11 a.m. And boom, one day it's like, nope, that's not happening. It's totally changed and your whole schedule is going to flip. It's amazing. It's amazing. There's just nothing like it. Nothing like it.
When you say that to me, I also start to get a little overwhelmed, right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, that's right. When do we introduce solids? I don't like at this point, I mean,
You
this
don't
is
have to know.
real.
You just know. And that's why you have a doctor and it works.
100%, 100%. But I think you also said this to me, but one of the nurses at the hospital when we were leaving, because I was crying on one of these days and I didn't really know why other than just I was totally overwhelmed. The nurse said, and I get choked up thinking about it. She just said, um, don't think tomorrow. Don't, what you're going to do is you're going to think you're going to get in your car. Baby's going to be strapped in, going to be safe, and you're going to drive home. And you're just going to focus on getting home right now. And then once you're home, get the baby inside. And then you're going to focus on, whatever it is, getting her in the bassinet or feeding her. And you're literally going to take it, if you need to, 15-minute blocks of what's next in the next 15 minutes. And I think for me as a planner, that's also hard because I like to plan. I'm OCD. I want to be in control, etc. But there's none of that. That all goes out the window. And so that advice that she gave me, and I believe that you reiterated to me when you came for the visit, could not be more helpful. It is so true because planning for anything at this point in time, at this stage, is very difficult. If she's feeding, if she's down for a nap, and even today, you said that to me. If you need to get up, if whatever it is, you just got to go with the flow, really. And that's how life has changed tremendously for me. It's like planning, haha, that's funny.
And it's really hard for people like you and me. I mean, I am exactly like you. It's my greatest trait and also my giant Achilles heel. I am so compulsive. I am such a planner. It was so hard to be thinking about, well, what am I going to be doing, at 2:00 tomorrow? And it's like, I don't know, Yeah. And that is so hard. It's so hard. And, it does not like this forever, but for the first 3, 6, 9 months, yeah, it is. And then when it starts to have a cadence and she will be on a nap schedule and all that does happen and she eventually goes to school, it does. You look around, there's schools all around you. Children go to school. It happens. But these first months are really, they're upside down. And it's hard, but it also, I think there's this beautiful reasoning behind it, which is one, it's allowing your body to heal, right? It's saying to you, as natural as it is to be pregnant and grow a human in your belly and to go through labor, like your body just went through a trauma and traumatic experience and you have to let your body heal. And that's why you should rest and be home and be with your child and allow the milk to come in and just sort of sit around and breastfeed and be there and be outside and do all the things you can, but like allow yourself the time to just bond and be with her. Yeah. And then also get to know what it's going to be like to be a parent, which is this idea of giving up a piece of yourself for this child and being responsible for them and saying, I have to let go of a lot of what I thought I was in control of because I'm now kind of at the whim of this human and knowing where their life's going to go and take them. I'm going to follow in many ways. I'm going to lead and be a parent who has rules and all of those things. But, you have to take their lead too. And that's like this, this shift that happens when you become a parent, which is,
there's no mincing it. She's in charge.
Beautiful and hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I say she's in charge, obviously, we know we're the parents and we have to set some schedule and get her acclimated to sleeping in the bassinet and the crib, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the other thing. She's so young. She still thinks she's in the womb, sort of a thing. It's so hard to, am I going to be that strict parent where, I'm going to let her cry it out, or do I just pick her up and, make her feel the comfort that she is longing for? And that's, being in the womb still because she's so brand new. And as it relates to giving up your planning and the control at the same time. I think this is key to me too. The other piece of advice that I received, and this is from my OB, was that, 15 minutes a day, it's okay to disconnect and, have John make sure she's okay for the 15 minutes and go outside and I go get some fresh air, without her, just to sort of recalibrate and remember what that's like. And that has been helpful as well. And on one hand, I was feeling in my overwhelmed state bad, like if I leave for 15 minutes and don't take her with me. And no, I mean, it helps tremendously. It's sort of like this reboost or a booster for yourself of, oh, okay, yeah, everything's fine. And I can do this. And I just needed that 15 minutes and now I'm back.
Yes. And if it means also like you did right now, like, blow dry your hair and put mascara on, all those things are like, they may seem silly and trivial, but they're like really important. I remember the first time I took like my robe off and I was like, oh my God, I have clothes on. I think I would remember I put like a semi-normal bra on and I was like, oh, this feels so good. And it was uncomfortable and all those things. So I was like, it felt good. It's important.
Hey,
yes.
Yeah, I'm wearing a regular bra for the first time in 3 weeks. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. I owe you. I did. I actually put on a regular bra.
It's really true.
I mean, I'm gonna take it off.
It's true.
Done. Don't get me wrong, but and that's another point that you're reminding me of, and that is, as much as we can't plan, it was nice to have this on the calendar. So thank you for the invite, because it is.
And if you cancel,
Sure.
whatever.
Yeah, of course, and you'd be totally understanding. But it's still nice because it feels like something out of the ordinary. And then also, that it could be a service to other women who may see this and hear this. And so that makes me feel good too. So it gave me a little bit more purpose outside of, being Sloane's mom, just for a few minutes. And that's great. So that's why I'm happy to be doing this as well.
Yeah. I also remember when Linus was born, there was a lot of downtime. Maybe not the first 2 weeks, but come like 3 weeks, he spent a lot of time in this like rocker chair thing.
Yeah.
And I remember being like home alone. Matt went to work and I was like, all right, like, what am I doing? And I couldn't, everyone's like nap when they nap. And I was like, I can't nap all the time,
Yeah.
And I was like, what am I doing? And I did work and I was like, I got to do something. I felt like I was like, couldn't just sort of like hang around. I didn't want to take him for a walk all the time. And I lived in DC at the time. The weather was, he was born in the summer, was like so hot and humid. But I was like, I need something to do. I felt like I needed a little something every day where I was like doing something at least for an hour. That was like, my brain was like needing something. I mean, all babies are different. He wasn't colicky. He wasn't difficult. Right. So I was lucky. But there was a lot of time where he was just like, you can't do much with a 1-month-old before they're 1 month, 2 months old. Like there wasn't a lot going on,
Yeah. I mean,
so I don't know. I felt like I needed something.
I understand that a lot because, I don't have the pressures of work right now, which again is nice. But at the same time, I don't have the pressures of work, which is foreign to me. Yeah. So if I need to go to FedEx, it's my best friend's birthday in a couple of days. I'm going to walk. It's not that far. And I have something to do, and it's literally, it's true. It's my to-do list has drastically changed in the last 17 days. But it's the little things that make all the difference to make you feel like, okay, I need to get this done. I'm going to get it done. I'm blessed in that my husband works from home. So he is working right now, but he's also 100% available to us. So when you said you're in a home, with a newborn by yourself, that's a whole different experience too in itself. So I give you credit.
Yeah. I mean, I'd help like the first 2 weeks or so. And then, I was like home alone, which is, I mean,
I hear that
a
all
lot.
The time.
Yeah.
When they're down, you need to be down. Well, she sleeps so much. And we're also grappling with that. She's a good baby. We call it a little maniac at night. They don't know the difference between morning and night. And
Yeah.
and then, trying to keep her awake where during the day, how much is too long for a nap. And if she's very peaceful sleeping, do I wake her up to feed her? There's different theories on that.
It's so hard.
It is hard because the longer she sleeps during the day, I'm like, oh, this is a bad night coming. This is a bad night.
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to keep you very long, and I'm going to keep doing this with you every week or so. Tell me one thing that you learned through the labor and delivery experience that you would want to just put out there in the world for anyone else to, your big takeaway from that experience and also these first 2 weeks. We've talked about things you weren't expecting in terms of like responsibility stuff, but something else that you just sort of the takeaway from the labor and delivery, and then also these like real first 2 weeks that took you off guard, I would say.
I think for labor and delivery, the biggest takeaway from me was, and it relates to the biggest takeaway in this first couple of weeks of her life is, even though you may have a plan, that could all go by the wayside and you just have to go with the flow. And I thought that first of all, I was being induced. So for my OCD, that was good because I knew what date, but that in the end didn't really matter at all, in that I ended up having to have a C-section simply because her head was wedged in my pelvic bone area where she wasn't going to budge no matter what. And so, we went through hours and hours until the C-section was determined. And then I also wanted the whole experience of to sort of feel the pain before making the decision on an epidural. And this is just my own experience. I have high pain threshold and all that, but no, that's a joke. What I thought of myself prior is just completely different. I got an epidural. That was my decision. And it was, that was the best thing I could have done for myself. And then also the other big takeaway is, and again, I don't know because I have no baseline, and you could add to this because I was trying to vaginally have her and then switch to C-section. I had the epidural, I had Pitocin, I had other things during the C-section as well. I was pumped with fluids for more than 2 days. And I thought once I had her that I didn't expect the body to react in the way that it did. And that was, I looked like an Oompa Loompa, and I'm not exaggerating. I had IVs for 51 hours and all that liquid had to go somewhere. I couldn't eat for more than a day. And it was just fluids. And I was so puffy, it was uncomfortable. My feet hurt. I came home from the hospital and I weighed more than when I left. And I thought that was shocking, and no one told me that.
You're just also so tiny to begin with. So you just held on to everything they put in you.
Literally. And it was just awful. You just don't feel good, right? You don't look like yourself. You don't feel like yourself. Then you have somebody else to care for. And that was the other thing. Another takeaway, sorry, you asked for one, but the nurse, one of them said, you just went through major surgery. And so this is the only surgery that you'll go through where usually when you have major surgery, you're taken care of. Like you have somebody to help you, but you're now having to care for something else. So I was dealing with the C-section and the incision and the uncomfortableness of that. And then, trying to learn how to take care of a newborn, that was something I didn't anticipate either. So ultimately, I think for both is no matter how much of a planner you are prior, that all goes by the wayside and your life is completely dependent, and a little creature is now dependent on you, and that's all that matters.
It is. I think that that last takeaway is really significant that I think we forget about, which is that whether you have a C-section or you have a vaginal delivery, like it can be easy. And even if it's easy, and I had pretty easy deliveries, relatively speaking, it's still a lot. Like there's a lot of blood and it's a lot. But right afterwards, your body is preparing the 9 months to then take care of someone. And as much as the nurses are there up until you deliver for you, it switches like that. And then they're there for the baby. And they're there for you to help you then take care of this child. And it's really tricky and it's a really hard thing to do. And maybe next time when we talk, we can also then talk about how, your hormones just start up here and then they just dip down, but you're still taking care of this child. And it's a really hard switch. It's a really hard switch. You have no choice. You're doing it. And it's tricky. It's really hard. And especially if you have a surgical delivery, I didn't ever have that. It's really, I can imagine, really hard. You're recovering and you can't move and you're not walking and you're not, a lot of times you're not supposed to pick up your child and you're still taking care of them. And that's a big tall ask. And then they send you home.
Yeah. I mean, that was really hard.
With no manual, with no like step-by-step manual of what to do. So like you said, it's 15 minutes at a time. It's one step at a time. But still, there's no like boxes to check off of like, okay, I did that. What next?
Right.
It's hard.
The body is amazing though, because again, it's been 17 days and it's amazing how much I've changed in a short amount of time. They said, 2 weeks to get the swelling down. And it's really been that case. I'm still some puffiness, don't get me wrong. And especially in my belly area. But I mean, my feet, you can see my feet. Like I have feet. And I'm not exaggerating. Even my husband, he said, I came into the kitchen once a few days ago and I woke up and he looked down and he goes, oh my gosh, I can see your feet. Because they looked like they were in slippers. Like you couldn't see veins. You couldn't see, it was just, I had no ankles. And that went up my whole body, like top to bottom. It's wild, absolutely wild. But the body bounces back pretty quickly. And that's amazing in itself. The other thing that we should talk about too is the dynamic in the family. I mean, it's also very interesting, for me and my husband, John, and just how it changes the marriage as well. That's also been something I didn't anticipate.
Not good or bad, just
exactly.
different.
It's just different, right? It's different. The focus is on the child and not on each other, but you really need to still pay attention to each other because that's where this all started, was the two of you in the first place. And it's just, there's a whole lot going on. And by the way, that is behind me is one of our crazy.
I know. I love that picture.
When Sloan was still insane.
I love that.
Yeah.
And just wait till you get your 6-week checkup when you're allowed to have sex again.
I know.
We'll
So I had my 2-week checkup yesterday and she said 4 more weeks to go.
And I remember being like, yes, no, yes, no.
So funny. It's so true. And then also 4 more weeks till I can run. And that, brings me to Kickin Cancer. And I think we'll be out there with Sloan.
Oh my God. I was thinking about that the other day. It'll be so great. Yeah. All right. I'm letting you go. Get back to your baby girl. And we will talk in a week or two and see what's happening. And maybe we'll get to see her.
Yes.
I love you. I'm so excited for you. You look gorgeous. And you look great. And you just seem happy and glowing. And it's the best.
Oh, thank you. I love you. And I'm so happy that our baby girl was born on your birthday. I mean, she couldn't have a
I know, it's the best. I'll never forget it ever. And happy early birthday to you.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Thank you.
It's a good time. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay.